just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
Hey guys, ROBLOX here, back with another video, and in today's video, as promised, we're doing a drifting tutorial. So, on my last video, I promised you guys that I'd make this drifting tutorial, so here we are. So, when you drift in, Solitary, it's one of the more advanced games, not necessarily with the drifting physics, but with the views, with the options, and with the graphics. So it's a more complex game, harder to understand than other games, and for drifting you need to know how to use a manual on Roblox, so, and overall just on PC. I don't think this game's out on Xbox. If it is, then tell me guys, and I don't have an Xbox that I play on, so I can't make a tutorial on that. But, pretty much, today I'll just be showing you guys how to drift and a few things you need to have to be able to drift. So, the first thing is picking out a car. The AE86 is a beautiful car for this, because in real life, it's known as the car that trains the driver. It's not really like that in the game, because, like, all the cars are pretty much the same. But this one goes a bit slower, it's easier to control, and I just like it overall. So if you guys have any recommendations for a beginner car, then make sure to tell me, and I may do a video on the best car. So, next thing you want to do is find out the view that you like. If you click B once, it'll get you into this view, which doesn't shake your camera at all. You just follow your character, like this. So it just kind of like lets you follow. The next view is just normal, where you can like look around while you drift and stuff. And the last view is inside, and this is my favorite view actually. This is how I drift all the time, and this is how I like to play Solitary. So once you found out your view, your car, and you got all that stuff done, then you need to find the track. And right now, I forgot the exact name of the track I'm on. Let me quickly go over here to see. Oh yeah, I'm on Izumi. There we go. So this track here, it's very friendly for new drifters, as some wider turns, some more tight turns at the same time. And for a beginner, wider turns are probably going to be easier for you. And the reason why I say that is because if you're on a high enough gear, you can slide on a turn without having to hit the handbrake. And you don't have to really control it. Like, if you just let it go, it may possibly be able to slide all the way through, but overall it's just easier to control bigger turns than smaller turns. So anyway, let's get into our car and head over to the first turn here. So when you start drifting, you want to be at probably second gear for a hairpin, and for a turn as wide as this, maybe fourth gear. Something like this. You don't even have to drift, so that's like second, third gear stuff all the way here. This is definitely third gear here. So, the way I just drift there, I was on second gear, but it's easier to do these drifts on higher gears. But pretty much for a wide turn like this one right here, I'll show you guys how you drift for that. So you want to get into third gear, so you could just go like this and you'll get up there like fast already, but the way you're supposed to shift is start at the first gear and move up when it turns red. But anyway, when you get to the point where you hit the handbrake, that's like around here. That's where you'd hit the handbrake or turn, and then you'd slide all the way over here through this area, and while you're doing that, you're constantly hitting the handbrake to control your drift. So I said third gear, but we'll try it on third gear and fourth gear. So I'm gonna hop into this view here. I'm not good on any of the outside views, I'm better on first person, but I'll just show you guys like this, just so you can see how the drift will look. So here we are on fourth gear, and now we're sliding. If you guys can see in the corner, I'm constantly hitting my handbrake to get into a tighter angle. And then when you downshift during a drift, it makes your wheels spin faster, which makes the drift which allows you to do the drift easier. So if you're coming out of a long drift and you're getting into a hairpin, you're definitely going to be downshifting before you get to the drift, but you may do one during the drift as well. So as you can see, guys, you want to be constantly hitting the handbrake when your turn gets sharper. So let's say I'm in this long drift here, I'm still going, and right here I'm tapping the handbrake a little bit. I want to get nice and close, and you're just like kind of, when you drift, it's kind of like an artwork where you're trying to make it perfect, you're trying to make it look good, and you're just trying to get as close to the edge as you possibly can, whether it's on the inside or on the outside. So once you have that down, you probably want to get to smaller turns. So right now I'm on second gear, and I'll just do this. Just hold the handbrake down, because for these turns you can't really just slide into them. So on third gear, that's when you can just slide into turns, but it's still very helpful to be hitting the handbrake, because if you just turn so much to the point where you start sliding, by that point you'll probably be like inside the turn you're going on. So that's pretty much all you need to know when you drift. When you first enter the drift, that's called the entry, and you can do like a backwards entry, a 360 entry. There are like a lot of different entries you can do. A backwards entry is where you're driving fast and you turn like way earlier than you're supposed to, and you kind of just let your car slide backwards. Like I'll try to do one right here. I doubt it's gonna work, but yeah, I did that way too late. But pretty much it's like not on a turn as wide as this, it's like harder to do it. But if you're doing it on something like a really wide hairpin, then that'll be easier. But pretty much a backwards entry is where you enter backwards. Same with the 360 entry. You just do a 360 before you get into the drift, and that doesn't really do anything for you besides show how good you are, and just like improve your skill level and stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna hop into first person view right now, and I'll do some drifting here. Kind of messed up that first turn there, but I'm overall better in first person. I'm not sure why, but in a lot of drifting games I'm just good in first person. Like I can control the car better. I'm getting on the grass in a few of these, and then once you get into more advanced forms of drifting like tandems, that's when you're gonna wanna learn how to control yourself all the time, because normally, like now, when you start drifting, when you're on this turn here, you're just going to tap the handbrake like once or twice here, and that's it. And that's only for turns. You're not just going to be hitting the handbrake when you're like on a straightaway or something. But when you're in a tandem, you're always kind of adjusting yourself, because if you're leading, then you're just drifting, you're just doing whatever. But if you're following or chasing, that's the harder part, because you're trying to be as close to the person as you can, like you're right on their door, you're doing all that stuff, but you don't want to run into them, which is why you're constantly hitting the handbrake. So that's more advanced forms of drifting, and if you guys want, I could do a video on tandems. Make sure you keep checking my channel to see what I post. And also, guys, if you know any drifting games in Roblox, then make sure to tell me that as well, because I really want to know all the drifting games that are good, and if I did know them, then I'd be able to make videos on them and tutorials on them, because this is my second drifting tutorial. My first one was on Midnight Racing Tokyo, so make sure you see that if you haven't. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much drifting on this map. Drifting on hairpins is either way harder or way easier. Not really way harder, maybe just hard and then easier. But drifting on hairpins is just like any turn we've done here so far, except you're drifting in a tighter, like a tighter angle. So like these are all hairpins. That's a hairpin, that's a hairpin, that's a hairpin. All those are all hairpins, and they're really fun to drive. If you've ever gone on them, like togs like this one, they're really satisfying to weave through all these little hairpins, and it's just interesting. So for hairpins, it's mainly second gear, but you may need some more speed which is why I sometimes go third gear. And for a hairpin, you pretty much drive up to it, and this is like where you start turning and drifting, like right over here. Like right here, you'd hit the handbrake and get into your drift, sliding all the way across. And same thing here, you get into your drift and slide all the way across, and then here's where you'd shift up, and then you'd shift back down again in the middle of that drift there. And you're just kind of like keeping an eye on all your things, because drifting's kind of like you're multitasking so much. You have a car, like you're working on where the car is going, you're steering, you're shifting up and down, and you're hitting the handbrake at the same time. So that's like I think 4 things. I don't even remember what I even just said, but there's just so many things that you need to work on and pay attention to as you're drifting, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So when I first started playing this yesterday for my video, I was just like testing the game out, seeing what it even was, and when I actually got into a drift, it wasn't hard at all. It was a good drift, and it was easy for me because I had experience in other drifting games like Midnight Racing Tokyo. It's not necessarily a drifting game, but I knew the physics from that game, and just overall just playing Roblox games like Redline Drifting, Drift Paradise, just all these different games that I used to play that gave me the experience that I need now and that I have now to be able to do these drifts so easily. So pretty much drifting is like, once you master it in one game, you got it in every other game. So like if you watch this tutorial now and you go into Midnight Racing Tokyo, that game I'd say is kind of more realistic with the drifting, because like your car is heavy and it doesn't just slide when it gets on third gear. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. So if you enjoyed and if this tutorial helped me out, then tell me. And if you comment on my videos, I always shout you out. So I haven't gotten a comment in a while, so that's why I haven't shouted anyone out. But if you do comment, then I always shout you guys out. And as always, I'm Roblox Voice. Thanks for watching.
Farewell, sweet cookie cats.